molweni, sanibonani, good morning. My name is Nomatham Mdlazi, and I thank you so much for joining me in this beautiful conversation today. I hope that wherever you are doing well, you are thriving, and you're just ready to take on the full burden of life. You're just ready to go full force into the kind of person that you're meant to be. But in this conversation today, I'd like us to talk about the concept of happiness, the psychology of happiness, to see through really how much possible is it for us to defeat misery completely and therefore enhance our happiness levels, right? So, in my fascination on the concept of happiness itself, I've had the privilege to read at least two books. The first book I had to read, it was by Stephen Klein, who is a neuropsychologist. It's called The Science of Happiness. So that book completely changed my life because I had to understand that there is a difference between the physical properties of a brain that is happy and that which is miserable. So he tries to explain that really the physical properties of a brain that is happy is more healthier than those of a brain that is miserable, and also as well in the psychological part of things for that, right? And the other book I had the privilege to read is by Paul Dolan, who is a behavioral economist, right? So in that book, he tries to show us that really how much possible is it for us to explore the production process for happiness. So he tries to understand how to cultivate happiness just as a phenomenon, to just understand yourself better. So it was such a powerful read. And anyone who does want to be more conscious of their happiness, they should find themselves a copy of any of these books so that they understand that how much possible is it for them to really be more present and be conscious of their happiness. So in this conversation, I want to share with you 10 lessons that I've learned about happiness itself in both of these books, because they help me understand that really happiness, it's an internal conversation I have with myself. It really has nothing to do with the external world. It really has nothing to do what I have or what I don't have or what I wish to have or what I think I should have had, right? So it is such a powerful thing to see any one of us trying so hard, because this is the information age, and we should make sure that we don't really exclude ourselves from obtaining information that will completely be able to transform our lives, to live, to just be at a level where we're just more happier and we understand ourselves better, right? So books on personal development, they have the capacity, they have the potential to completely change your life and give you this free state of the mind to understand yourself better, right? So the first lesson I had in both of these books that I realized that it's very important about happiness, number one, is that it's very important for you to allocate your attention optimally, right? So it's very important, if you're more intentional about being happy, to allocate your attention. So Paul Dolan also says that anyone who maximizes their happiness, those are the people who can allocate their attention properly. So if you can't allocate your attention properly, then you will struggle seriously in terms of obtaining happiness, really, because you will focus on the really difficult aspects of your life, and then you always ignore the ones that are just beautiful. But the more you focus your attention on the beautiful, glamorous aspect of your life, then you'll realize that really it is much possible for you to understand that you should be happy on an average day, because you understand how much important it is for you to allocate your attention properly. So each one of us should understand that if you want to maximize your happiness as a person, number one, be conscious of where you dictate your attention, right? We should understand that really you don't have to be thinking of really negative stuff about yourself, but you should fully focus your attention on the more positive aspects of your life. Yes, not that you two should ignore the struggles you have. You could just see through how to improve if it's possible. Because yes, there are other things that we just waste energy trying to improve, but the other things are just way out of our control, and that's wisdom. We have to understand that yes, there are other things that are way out of your control. Yours is to just make peace with them, but really from now going forward, make sure that you allocate your attention properly if you want to maximize your happiness as a person, to understand yourself better, right? So it truly is important for you to be able to allocate your attention properly, because if where you allocate your attention, your energy goes there, your mental conversations goes there. So you don't want to waste most of your time miserable, because you spend most of your time thinking about the negative aspects of your life. You want to figure out how much possible is it for you to allocate your attention properly. You allocate your attention on really truly the most important aspects of your life, where you want to be improved, where you want to do well, where they are just beautiful. You've got kids that you know that you should have gratitude over them on a single day. You are privileged enough, you went to university, you have this qualification. Those are some of the things, and there's many of them you should always consider if you want to optimize, you want to leverage your happiness levels as a person, right? So the second aspect is that we should understand that you should develop a culture of happiness. Just be more intentional about developing a culture of happiness. Happiness shouldn't be something you obtain because now you bought a car, this is what you have, right? But it should be fully cemented part of your life, so that you understand that happiness is your right, and if you're miserable, that's a choice you did, right? That's a choice you have, that's a choice you took about yourself. Otherwise, it's very important for you to develop a culture of happiness. Be more intentional about embracing this culture of happiness. So one of my favorite quotes by Dr. Tabari, who's a psychologist, he says that it is possible for you to, it's very important for you to understand that pain is, he says that pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice, right? So it's very important to understand that no matter how much pain you go through, it is possible for you to understand that you don't necessarily have to suffer in that pain. You don't necessarily have to be miserable while going through that pain, right? So it's very important to just simply develop a culture of happiness and be more intentional about being happy, right? So the third aspect is that joy is the transition of the mind to a state of perfection. I always say this, that imperfect should be embraced. Even if things are not exactly the way you wish them to be, it is important for you to embrace the imperfect. So a happy state of the mind embraces that. It understands that really not everything has to be perfect. Other things are just perfect the way they are, and that's okay. It's very important for you to understand that you should not expect everything to be perfect. If you want to leverage your happiness levels, you can just be content, you can just be at peace with the way things are. Even if you understand that, hey, I wish things were different, things were better, things were like this, but it's very important to understand that not everything has to be perfect to another level. So it's very important for you to understand that joy is the transition of the mind to a state of perfection. You understand that yonke into is exactly the way it's meant to be, right? So the other one is that be conscious of your emotions. This is very important. Whenever you are angry, whenever someone triggers whatever to yourself, just understand that it's very important for you to be more conscious of how you react in that given situation. It's very important if you want to maximize your happiness to understand that you should be more conscious of your emotions. You should understand that whenever you are angry, then you can just be aware of that. And then you then decide how you want to react in that given situation. Do you want to respond? Do you want to just calm down and figure out and just make time to think through of that which just happened, instead of just reacting at the same time, right? Because the moment you react when you are angry, you will do something that's completely stupid, and at the end of the day, you will regret yourself to have done that. So it's very important for you to understand that you should be more conscious of your emotions. Yes, you wake up one day and you are not happy. What's wrong about me? No, there's nothing wrong. But it's very important to understand that on an average day, you understand that you should be this happy and content type of person to understand yourself better to another level, right? Just be more conscious of your emotions. Understand when it's best to react, when it's best for you to figure out and just think through whatever that just happened, right? So the other aspect is that feelings of pleasure are consequences of right thoughts, right? I've always said this, I've said it in my previous conversation as well, that the information that you consume is a determining factor to another level that you will be happy or you will, right? Because the thoughts you have come from the information that you consume, right? So it's very important that you consume the right information, things that will completely make you better, right? Just understand that feelings of pleasure are consequences of right thoughts. And if you don't have the right thoughts about yourself, about any given situation, then you'll have a difficult situation in general. You will be miserable. So it's very important to be more conscious of the kind of information that you consume, because now you are trying to be more intentional about your happiness levels. You don't want to consume crap because at the end of the day, you will be miserable. You'll be worried about someone else's lives, whereas you should be wasting your energy trying to figure out how best can you improve on your any given situation. Because some of the rich people I know, they don't even have time for soccer. They are not fans for all these things. We do all these things, and they don't have time for that. They fully focus on their attention on the things that they are supposed to do. And because of that, they are not fans for soccer, they are not fans for whatever, right? Because they fully focus on the kind of information that they should consume. Do you understand? So it's very important for you to understand that if you're more intentional about leveraging your happiness levels, you should understand that the information that you consume, it is the determining factor as to whether you feel pleasure or you will be miserable at the end of the day. Understand that you should understand that the feelings of pleasure are consequences of right thoughts. Pleasure doesn't just come from wherever, out of the blue. You should understand that they come from having the right thoughts and having the right experiences. So you should be more conscious of both of those two things, right? If you are more intentional about being happy as a person, right? So the other one is the mind is shaped by experience. So it's very important as well that you become conscious of some of the experiences you have. And yes, there are experiences we always have, and yet we that are way out of our control, that we could be able to articulate them. So, but it's very important for you, whatever experience you've had, be able to have a conversation with yourself about it. If it's painful, make sure and just try to figure out how to resolve that experience, because it is traumatic, and at the end of the day, it will affect your emotional state, it will affect your spiritual state. So it's very important for you to be able to articulate and to communicate whatever terrible experiences you've had. So it's because the mind is shaped with such thoughts, and if you are not able to communicate the right way with whatever trauma you've experienced, then you'll continue to be miserable. But be able to communicate whatever bad experience you had to go through. Seek help if you have to, because yes, the mind is shaped by experience, but there's those experiences that are completely out of our control, and we should still seek help about terrible experiences we've had, right? So the other one is that we should want to change ourselves rather than our circumstances. This is very important. It comes back from the previous point as well, that we should try to change our perception of any given situation instead of trying so hard to change the circumstance itself, because to another level, we're humans and we can't really control everything. There are a lot of things which are just completely way out of our control. So we should understand that we should waste most of our energy trying to change ourselves, trying to change your perception of life, trying to change how you perceive other people, so that really you don't struggle. You're struggling so hard. No, they won't change. If the guy is an abuser, he'll abuse you. Make peace with it. It's not like we're now different in any way. Get out of that person. Focus on fully understanding yourself better and know your worth, what it is that you deserve, right? Because if you love yourself, you won't get to a level where you can bear with a toxic relationship. You will understand that it's very important for you to try and change yourself, change your perception of life, understand that you need the right mindset so that you could leverage your happiness levels in any given situation. There are a lot of people who are just content, who are just at peace with themselves, because yes, they are not struggling so much trying to change things that are completely out of their control. So that's how you attain peace. That's how you attain a state of contentment. It's just the ability to understand that you should work so hard trying to change yourself. You change your perception of things. You change how you communicate things to yourself and to other people before you could be able really, instead of wasting energy trying to change the events, trying to change the current circumstances, to understand. So it's very important for you to understand that you should try so hard trying to prove to yourself that really you can change how you perceive things, so that you could be able to leverage your happiness levels and be more happier in life, and just be content with things that are completely just imperfect, because you understand your position, that at the end of the day you're just human, right? So number 8 is that our happiness depends much more on how the brain perceives than on external circumstances, right? So your happiness does not necessarily have to do with with that now you have a car, or you have this, or you have whatever. You have this big house. There's a lot of people with big houses that they wanted. There's a lot of people with huge cars that they wanted, and yet now they are miserable still, right? Because really, at the end of the day, your happiness is more dependent on how your brain perceives. So it's very important for us, for each one of us, to challenge our thinking. Why? Because at the end of the day, perception is everything. You should challenge why you see things as glamorous as they are, right? Just understand that it's very possible, it's highly possible for you to perceive things the way right at the end of the day. That'll give you peace, and stop being so obsessed about some of the things that will not make you happy at the end of the day. So it's very important for you to understand that your happiness itself is much more dependent on how your brain perceives. It really has nothing to do with external circumstances, right? To another level. Yes, I'd like to think someone who doesn't have a shelter, who doesn't have food, they might struggle in terms of this, right? But there is a level of leveraging your happiness levels when you have all the basic necessities, right? So you don't have to be miserable because of some of the things, right? Just understand that you have to make peace with some of the things But as long as your basic necessities as a human are taken care of, so it's very reasonable for us, for many of us, those who do have homes, those who do have shelter, those who do have food every day, to be more intentional about leveraging your happiness levels, right? So number 9 is that multitasking makes you less happy and leads to less productivity. Ever since I heard this, yes, kuyakhulunywa vele ukuthi hayi abafazi zimbokodo bayakhona ukwenza this, doing that. But ever since I learned this, it just made sense to me that really trying so hard to multitask, it is such a waste of time. I am draining myself in the process. I shouldn't be doing this. So therefore, it's very important to understand that multitasking is just leads to you to be less happy and leads to less productivity, right? So imagine you're on a vacation and you're talking with your men or with your women, but now you're still busy trying to go on social media. You're just texting with someone, and you're just texting with someone else, or whatever. You are busy with some other things on your cell phone. This means that at the end of the day, you will be less happy and you won't be able to enjoy that vacation, right? Because now you are busy thinking, wherever this is what's happening, instead of being fully present in that vacation with your woman, with your man. You're just more happier. You understand that you're more privileged to be there. So a cell phone is the highest distractive medium at this point in our lives, and it's very difficult. It's so unfortunate that most of us don't understand that we're more miserable now because we have all this distractor or wherever siyahamba khona. Do you understand? We just never have time to connect with ourselves, connect with your thoughts, and just connect to the space that you're in, instead of trying so hard trying to multitask. So it's very important for you to understand that whatever it is that you do, be more present with it. You need to be more present with it so that you could finally just enjoy yourself in whatever it is that you do. So because multitasking leads to less productivity, and it will make you less happy, because you won't experience that dopamine release. You won't enjoy the experience as you should, because now you have all these distractions. You're trying to distract yourself. So it's very important, if you are planning to go somewhere where you want to enjoy yourself, take off your cell phone, put your cell phone somewhere else, and just be fully present in that experience and see how much beautiful life is. You decide to go on a spa, leave your cell phone, just go there and just be by yourself and just enjoy, connect with nature, connect with your present circumstances. That's how you leverage your happiness levels as a person, right? So the number 10 is money matters, respect it, but not so much that it overruns your life. It's not worth making you miserable. This one is my favorite, and I can't stress enough how much of people I know are so stressed about money. They're just worried and confused because they let money to overrun their lives. This is so unfortunate, because really, when you get to a point where you want to leverage your happiness levels, you will make sure that when you get paid, you fully focus on the basic expenses, and just fully understand that anything that's beyond that is just completely beyond that, and you don't have to keep stressing with money. This guy Paul Dolan, it's just not worth making you miserable. So why should you be miserable because of money? You should understand that you have low-class problems if you someone who struggles and you're now miserable because of money. And even if you're unemployed, yes, if you do have people who do take care of you to another level, it's very important for you to fully focus your attention on working out on things without necessarily thinking that you should be stressing about money to another level. Yes, you need your needs to be taken care of. That's what you need for you to to understand yourself better. Yes, you do need money for your basic necessities, right? But you don't necessarily have to be miserable because now you don't have money. So money is just not worth for you to completely be miserable because of it. So it's very important for each one of us to understand that money, yes, it's not really even an achievement. It counts only 20% of some of the problems we have, right? So it's very important to understand that you shouldn't let money be such a distractor to your life. You don't need money for you to be more happier in life. You just need yourself. You need a mindset shift. You need an understanding of really the ability to work out on your perception towards life instead of struggling in quite a lot of things that are just unnecessary. Yes, money, we need money to a basic level, but anything after that, we shouldn't be stressing about money. We should just be working silently in order to obtain all the beautiful things we want. So if you're more intentional about being happy going forward, you will stop stressing about money. You will understand that if you get paid, or even if you are self-employed, you should make sure that you cover your basic expenses, so that going forward, as the month goes by, you don't struggle to another level. So you don't have to be stressing about money, just being completely miserable because of money. So those are just low class problems that all of us should be more ready to deal with, if we want to be more intentional about being happy, if we want to leverage our happiness levels. So in concluding this conversation, I thank you so much that now going forward, you're more intentional about being happy. You understand that happiness really, it's an internal conversation, it's an internal phenomenon. It really has nothing to do with external circumstances. You work out on the psychology of your brain if you want to be more happier as a person. It really has nothing to do with your circumstances. So it's very important for you to prioritize your happiness, because this guy, Stephen Klein, in his book, The Science of Happiness, he tries to show us that really a brain of someone who's more happier on an average day is much more healthier than a brain of someone who is miserable on an average day. So it's very important, if you want to live a more happier, peaceful, content type of life, to understand that you should then be more intentional about your happiness. Prioritize your happiness. So Jordan Peterson, who's a former who was an ex-psychiatrist, he says that the purpose of life is beyond happiness. So at least happiness is this basic level. So the purpose of life is beyond happiness. It is contentment, it's fulfillment, it's equanimity, right? So at least if we could get to a level where we could attain happiness levels, we won't really be far to all these other beautiful states of existence: peace, fulfillment, contentment, right? We won't be far. So at least at a basic level, if you're someone who's more intentional about yourself, you should understand that you should be more intentional about being happy on an average day, to understand yourself better as a person, right? To just be more at peace, to be content, to just understand yourself to another level, right? So that you could be able to leverage your happiness levels as a person, right? So there is this bonus tip I have for you about happiness itself. It's from Dandapani. So Dandapani is a former monk. This guy helped me understand that really there's so much work that we should be doing if we want to understand our wellness better, if we want to understand the psychology of the mind itself, right? So Dandapani says, if you want to be more intentional about being happy, the tip is design a lifestyle in which the byproduct of it gives you happiness. So this compiles the rest of the conversation I've had with you, that really it's a lifestyle choice you design for yourself. It really has nothing to do with, oh, this weekend we are going to pay, that's how you leverage your happiness levels. No, it's that design a lifestyle. Your life itself, it should be designed such that the byproduct of it gives you happiness at the end of the day, right? So you don't necessarily need quite a lot of things, but a lifestyle, impilo oyiphilayo, you should be more at peace with it. You should be content with it. You should understand yourself better in relation to that lifestyle that you've designed for yourself. So it's very important for each one of us to design a lifestyle in which the byproduct of it gives you happiness. If you have to find a job, try and find a job. If you have to, you understand that you should keep going to a spa on a monthly basis, do that. If you want to understand that what will give you happiness in life is taking care of your kids, do that more often. So that's how you cultivate happiness. That's how you cultivate a state of peace, of fulfillment, of contentment in your life. Just understanding that you need to design a lifestyle in which the byproduct of it will give you happiness. So you don't necessarily need a lot of these things for you to be more happier. You just need to be able to design a lifestyle that will give you fulfillment at the end of the day, such that when you look back as well, you can be more proud, you can be more at peace with how you've lived. So then that's how you cultivate your happiness. The life that you live itself, it should be a testament. It should be just a testimony to the fact that you want to attain happiness levels. It really has nothing to do with expensive purchases or whatever, right? So I thank you so much for joining me in this beautiful conversation. I think this is the last video I do on happiness. Yes, there's a lot of aspects of wellness itself that we should touch into going forward. So but I hope I've been able to help you understand or perceive happiness differently. And I thank you so much for joining me in this beautiful conversation. Stay well, understand yourself better. You don't necessarily have to be looking to the other person and thinking that they're more happier than you are. You should fully focus on yourself. Be more at peace and just help yourself improvise to the kind of person that you are, and just see where to improve, where to do better, how to fix some of your mistakes if you have to. But just be more intentional about being yourself, and just being authentic with who you are. Just demand acceptance as a person. I thank you so much. I thank you so much for being part of this conversation. I thank you so much. Bye.